on another planetary body. President John F. Kennedy set the goal for NASA to conduct a crewed lunar landing and return the crew safely back to Earth in 1961. This was in response to Yuri Gagarin's successful flight previously that year. It took until 1969, 8 years later, for that goal to be accomplished.
After 10 failed attempts, NASA finally accomplished their mission of landing on the moon with Apollo 11.
Apollo 11 had a crew of 3 astronauts, although only 2 of them actually ever stepped on the moon. Neil Armstrong was the mission commander of Apollo 11. As we all know, he was the first man to walk on the moon. According to the article Apollo 11 Mission, published by the Lunar Planetary Institute in 2019, over 530 million people watched on television as he took his first step. Now, with this first step, he uttered the famous words that we all know. Everybody in the room, say it with me, including you, Professor, everybody in on this. That's
one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Edwin Buzz Aldrin was the lunar module pilot for Apollo 11. He was the second man to walk on the moon and deploy the scientific packages required to conduct the experiments on the moon.
Michael Collins was the command module pilot for the Apollo 11. The other two were American, but Michael Collins wasn't. He was actually born Italian. And he was the only one that didn't take a step on the moon. He was stuck at the command module the entire time.
While landing on the moon was an incredible achievement, the astronauts of Apollo 11 had many other important objectives to accomplish.
Apollo 11 collected lunar soil tests and electromagnetic discharge sun measurements to find out the electromagnetic waves composition. The seismic activity was also documented on the moon's surface.
Reflective panels were placed on the moon's surface to measure the distance between it and Earth with a laser rangefinder. A television camera was also placed to record lunar activity, was recorded and photographed extensively.
Now that we have talked about the Apollo 11 mission, now we can talk about the International Space Station.
Elizabeth Howell, a collegiate educator and one of the few Canadian writers to regularly publish work on the exploration of space, stated in her article, International Space Station, Facts, History, and Tracking, published in 2018, that the International Space Station was the first long-term sustainable living space in space. Its goal was to conduct long-term scientific experiments in space. The first module of the International Space Station was launched November 20th, 1998.
NASA started. The International Space Station's key function was to conduct experiments in space. The key study was the microgravity's effect on animals.
These studies were so that humans and animals would be able to walk correctly when they got back to Earth. The lack of gravity in space caused muscle atrophy and osteoporosis because we no longer have to work our muscles and bones against the gravity of Earth, meaning that our body doesn't maintain it.
Mark Garcia, social media consultant and writer for NASA, edited the International Space Station that was published in 2019, say that around 230 people occupy the International Space Station from at least 18 different countries. The International Space Station is equipped with 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a gym, and a 360-degree view window bay, just to make the astronauts stay more comfortable. Yet seeming small, the International Space Station is 1 yard short of an American football field.
The International Space Station completes an orbit around Earth every 90 minutes at the incredible speed of 17,500 miles per hour.
NASA stated in the article Mars Pathfinder, published in NASA's Facts in 1977. Sojourner means traveler, selected from a year-long competition held by NASA and was participated in by students 18 years or younger.
Now that we have discussed the International Space Station, we will discuss Pathfinder.
The Mars Pathfinder was launched from Cape Canaveral Air Station in Florida on December 4th, 1996. It took 7 months for the Pathfinder to get from Earth to Mars. It finally landed on Mars on July 4th, 1997. NASA stated in the article Mars Pathfinder on the NASA website, based on the mission which concluded in 1997, that while Pathfinder was on Mars, there were some interesting discoveries. Round pebbles were found at the landing site, which suggested that there was moving water at one time. This meant that Mars wasn't always a frigid and barren wasteland that it is today. The metallic core of Mars is 800 miles in diameter, which means it is slightly larger than Earth's.
Dust devils, or large sand tornadoes, were measured by wind, temperature, and pressure sensors by the rover. Basically, it drove into a tornado and was hoping that wouldn't be destroyed. Low-hanging clouds, composed of water vapor, suggest an atmosphere similar to Earth.
Temperature change in the morning and midday suggested that the atmosphere was thick and warm enough to be warmed by the surface.